Well, it feels amazing to be in this galaxy of all the super speakers here. So it's a privilege being here. Thank you so much for letting us share on this, providing us this stage. Well, I feel TEDx is such a platform wherein you get inspired and you can inspire so many other lives from all the walks of life. To begin with, I was, during my school days, I never had any kind of exposure to any kind of outdoor sports, outdoor games. I was always into indoor games, either playing chess or badminton, and I was quite overweight during my school days. So probably my friends, they did avoid me taking into any, either it's running race or anything, so that, you know, the house, it's the red house or blue house, so that, you know, the team doesn't lose. So I was a kind of aloof. Then my schooling, I did finish with the schooling and gradually lost weight. Then yes, I got into engineering, and not knowing if it was a right decision for me to take up engineering. Being an extremely intellectual IITian's daughter, I struggled during my engineering days. Did not understand any of those technically things. I was like technologically challenged, I could say. And yes, the tough days, but somehow I managed to complete my engineering. And for me, that was an achievement then. Completing my graduation was an achievement. And I worked for a while and I did not know what I was doing with my life. So I moved to England to pursue my higher education. I completed my MBA in international business, and I got a job, I started working, and then I was pretty happy doing what I was doing. Then it so happened that once a group of friends, we happened to go on a trek. It's not an expedition, it's just a trek. It was to Alps, wherein we were allowed to climb only a certain height, and we were not allowed to cross a point, and there was a board which mentioned only climbers are allowed. So I developed this curiosity. Why is it that only climbers are allowed after a certain point? What does it take to go beyond this point? You know, how do people go beyond this point? What does it take to reach that tip of the mountain? So I started researching. I did research about it, and I got to know then it's called as summit. Yeah. This was me. I'm an extremely shy and introvert, but yeah, that first spark, it happened in Alps. I wanted to go. Heights is something that's always inspired me, whether in life or in some mountains. I want to know how the world looks when you are on the top. So that was the first spark, and yes, that was the first spark that happened. And that's my mother, you know, and blessing, that backbone, that strength, that support. But initially, when I mentioned about, I didn't mention that I want to do Everest, but I wanted to tell her that I want to undergo a training. So I did undergo a very rigorous training. I enrolled myself into an mountaineering institute, and it was, you undergo a very rigorous training. Whether it's boy or a girl, there's no gender discrimination. They're equally strict with everybody, because if it's an exam, you either pass or you fail. But here, if you do not know anything, it's a life-risking sport. People can lose their life. So I believe there should always be a vision, and with the passion. So yes, I did learn a lot. I did undergo a lot of training, and then I mentioned that I want to do Everest. Initially, my mother was really reluctant about it, and they asked me, why have you done your MBA? Is it because you want to climb Everest? But no, I wanted to do something, you know, due respect to all the sports, but mountaineering is something extremely challenging. It's life risking, it's financially taxing, There's so many things. Yes, it involves mental strength, physical strength, financially you have to be good, and so yes, that's when, and finally I somehow managed to convince my mother that I want to go on an Everest expedition. So yes, I did a lot of work. We have to clear the fitness test for it, and trust me, I have not taken any money from my parents. I have spent hard-earned money on this, and everybody questions me, you don't really look like a mountaineer, But I believe it's that entire strength. You need to be mentally really, really strong. Physical strength, physical fitness is important, but more strong you are mentally, I think you are able to reach the goal. It's all about determination. That willpower within you is something that takes you ahead in life. So the journey to the Everest expedition began. 55 days, extremely challenging days. You reach step by step. The reason it takes 55 days is not because it takes 55 days to reach on the top, but the body has to get acclimatized. You are carrying a very heavy backpack and 5 kilos of shoes, 25 kilos of backpack, and extremely challenging areas like Kumbu Icefall, Lhotse Wall. Crossing this region and making it to 8,000 meters on Everest was, for me, was an achievement. So there is a desire, making your nation proud, making your state proud, making your family proud. So I continued my journey, and I thought, why not scale all the highest peaks of all the 7 continents? So my next expedition happened to Mount Carson's Pyramid. That's the highest peak of Oceania, Australia. This was at the height of 17,000 feet, and probably if you slip, you will not lose your life, but you will keep hanging, and just one person can cross it once. So it will be difficult for anybody to bring you out of that difficult situation. Yes, so yes, we are trying to so I completed scaling Mount Carson's Pyramid, and it also involved a lot of tribal threat. There was a chief who accompanied us. We had to seek permission from a tribe, and he was a 60-year-old tribe who had an 18-year-old wife. And when we continued with the journey, they started with some sort of a fight. So we did not understand what language was it. So we were just quietly standing with the guide, and my co-climber, he tells me, probably it's you, he's going to get married to you next and you'll have to stay back here forever. So things like this happens, and after the summit on Carson's Pyramid, we were stranded for 6 days with no food. It's equally important. Yes, summiting is very important, but after that, after taking those calculated risks, you come back home safe. That is equally important. So we were stranded after the summit. At the final camp when we returned, we were stranded there for 6 days. This is how we crossed the bridge. It's called as Monkey Bridge. And this was on Everest. This was when we faced minus 50 degrees centigrade, extreme weather conditions. So we have a theme. It's not just we scale the highest peak of every continent, but there's a theme involved. It's called as strengthening ties of India with other nations through this very unique extreme adventure sports. So along with representing India, I also happen to represent ASEAN, that's Association of Southeast Asian Nations. And the one at the center is me with all the tall people around. They are the ambassadors of all the nations. And that's Mr. Suresh Reddy ji, who handed over the ASEAN flag to take it to the highest peak of Oceania and Australia. So like this, the journey continued, and I continued to scale the highest peak of Africa, that's Mount Kilimanjaro, and I also scaled the highest peak of Europe, that's Mount Elbrus. So this is the way, this is the theme. We believe in empowering women, strengthening ties of India with other nations. We talk about climate change. So there's a very powerful theme involved. I always believe that it's all in the mind. Whether anything, whether it's sports or it's business, it's always an idea. It's an idea first on which we have to work on, which we have to implement, and then that's how it manifests. So what do I say? It's what an idea surgery, it's all about the idea. So yeah, this is the support I have got from the press, from the media, and it was an honor to win this Karnataka Rajyotsava award. It's a state's highest honor, and also received the accolades from our Honorable Prime Minister for the theme that we are taking ahead. There was a situation whenever I entered my university or my college, I happened to see this board which mentioned about the rank holders, people scoring 90%, 95%, 98%. I always had a desire, I wish there was a day, I wish there was some way wherein I could make my parents, my mother really proud about it. But whenever I mentioned this to her, she said, it's okay, I'm already proud of you, you don't really have to do anything. But back in my mind, I felt, what should I do? What is that different thing that I should do to make her proud? But today, somehow I feel, not praising myself, but today I feel I have reached a certain stage wherein I am able to do something that my country, my state, and my family is proud of. So, yes, as I say, like passing on the energy, trying to promoting this and motivating children. So yes, this is just the beginning, and I would like to continue this journey. This is a video. I would like you to take a look at the video, please. To hold our Indian national flag at the highest peak of Australia and Oceania, which happens to be the 7 summits of the world. That is the Carlson's Pyramid, one of the most technical and one of the most toughest climb. So yes, feels proud. Jai Hind, Jai Karnataka.
Good.